All right, attention dealers, finish the hands you are on and then hold up for just a second. All of our gaming table dealers, finish your hands and then hang tight for just a second.
Jason. I gotta sit down for this.
Okay.
I think we are all the tables held up for a second? Looks like we are. Okay, cool. All right, so if I can have everybody's attention up to the bar area for just a second. I'm going to try not to fall off this chair. I'm going to do my best not to fall. We're insured, right? So first of all, welcome everybody to the 2023 WeWillRockCF event. It is year number 13 for this. Really quickly, just by show of hands, who has been here since year one? Damn, that's a lot of hands. Give yourselves an absolutely huge round of applause. That's incredible. Thank you guys and girls. Anybody first year? Who's your first year here? Where the hell you been? Welcome to this incredible event with these incredible families and friends for an incredible cause. My name is Jay. I am your MC and host for the evening. We hope everybody's having a good time. Are we having fun so far? Excellent. Well, listen, there is a lot more gaming to go. There is a lot of raffle prizes to be won. So once again, reminder, if you have not had a chance to get your tickets in for the raffles, make sure you do that now or when we're finished. There is also a silent auction that we are going to be calling a winner for just a little bit later. So please make sure you are spending as much money as you are able to promote such an incredible event. And we have a lot of really awesome prizes to win for you as well. So we have a few people that are going to come up and speak. First and foremost, would you please do me a favor, who has a few words to share with us? Give a round of applause for Alyssa. Alyssa, come on up here. You don't have to stand on the chair.
No, I actually need it.
Okay.
Before I
Hold it
read,
close.
before I read some sentiments on behalf of my parents, Barbara and Jeff Fierstein, I would like to let everyone know that each raffle basket has a manicure, pedicure, or massage certificate in it. The committee decided to include these in an effort to give tonight a true Sandy Holland flair, as they were some of her favorite indulgences. When you use the certificates, please think of the dear, incredible woman whom we honor tonight. So from my parents, to our dearest Ed, Eileen, Brian, Lee, Jonathan, and Sandy. When realizing that WeWillRockCF was coming back on a night that we were unable to be here in person, and that our beloved sister Sandy would be honored, it saddened us to know that we would be absent. At the same time, we know you are all here to celebrate Sandy and stand with John, Eileen, and all of the Hollands because they are loved deeply. We continue to shed tears and smile through them thanks to the many years of our happy memories. We miss Sandy constantly, and it is often hard to navigate life without her presence. Sending our love to you, Hollands, and our thanks to all of the family and friends who continue to be an integral part of the success of WeWillRockCF by the ways you show your love, support, and generosity. Make sure to indulge in a Diet Coke and raise your glass to toast the memory of Sandy Holland with her favorite beverage. Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you, Alyssa. We appreciate those words. So taking the microphone back over from me right now is a man who I am sure that you all know doesn't really need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway because he hates it. Jason O'Neill.
All right, I will try the chair. Hi everyone, I'm Jason O'Neill. I am one of the founders of this event. This is my 13th event. I've been here for all of them. Sandy, who Alyssa just talked to, would have raised her hand as having been at all of those events. John, who we honor, and his cousin Eileen, both who have cystic fibrosis. Sandy is Eileen's mom, and this night is in honor of her. She was just an amazing supporter of the cause to find a cure for cystic fibrosis. So I just wanted to echo what Alyssa had to say. Tonight, though, is a celebration. This is our first year back after 3 years off due to COVID. Regardless of what you think about what happened with COVID, people who are affected with cystic fibrosis can't get COVID and they can't get sick because their lungs are affected by lots of different diseases, but diseases that affect the respiratory system are the worst. And our friend John, who you'll hear from in a second, has spent the last 5 years going through what could only be looked at as insanity. In 2019, just before our last event, he had a lung transplant. He showed up 6 months later at this event in 2019 and spoke to many of you. We then had COVID, and if he got sick during that time, we were all scared to death. I think I saw John 2 or 3 times in 2 or 3 years because I got little kids going around. I couldn't even go see my friend because he's facing this disease. And then all of a sudden, what we don't know about lung transplants is a lot of people who get lung transplants, they lose their kidney function. And earlier this year, John's brother, Ben, you can raise your hand right there, donated his kidney. Which kidney was it? The left kidney, which is now inside of John. And this event is to celebrate the unbelievable science that has gone behind making John this the first event he's been able to be at since 2009 for the entire night. He's never been able to be here. This will be the first time he's here since 2009 all night. Just very quickly, we started this event in 2008, not related to the Phillies World Series, so I think though we were worried about playoff implications and whether there'd be a Phillies game the night of our event. It started off with a bunch of big screens around this room. We were playing Guitar Hero. That's how long ago this was. It was a Guitar Hero event. And it's evolved into this over many years. And it's the reason why we've been so successful. And when I say successful, we thought we were going to raise a couple $1,000s the first year. This year, we are getting close to our $1 millionth raised over 13 events, which is just mind-blowing. And the reason we've been able to do that is because of some incredibly generous sponsors, which I'd like to recognize here for a minute. So we have more presenting sponsors than we've ever had before. The sponsors that have donated the most and given back to us, and there's some names on here that you absolutely will recognize. Acadia Windows and Doors, Ferguson Facilities Supply, thank you, Claire Harrison, Murphy's Hauling Service, Weeds Incorporated, and YTM Clothing and Accessories. There is one other presenting sponsor, which I need to just recognize as like presenting sponsor plus plus, is Scully Company. Scully has been with us since the first day. So many of you here are here because of Scully. And Jessica, thank you to you, your team, and everything you've done for us over the years. Thank you so much. Some other sponsors I want to recognize. We have ACE sponsors. So Ed Holland, Sandy's husband. Thank you, Ed, for your donation. Legacy Advisors, Northern Waterproofing and Restoration. Thank you so much. There's another sponsor I got to recognize with a little bit of a plus plus. So Bill Evans and Liberty Fox has been, Bill, you're here, which is year one? Year one, and his business has grown like crazy. He's got 20 people here all through his different network. Bill has a separate cystic fibrosis fundraiser where he donates his money to us. He's an amazing sponsor. Thank you, Bill, for everything you've done for your team. And then a couple other sponsors. So the sponsor of the blackjack table, where are my blackjack people? Where are you right now? That's brought to you by Commercial Waterproofing. Thank you, guys. Oh, weird, here he is again. Poker is sponsored by Liberty Fox and Bill Evans again. Thank you. Our roulette table is brought to you by AG Marketing Solutions. And our craft table is brought by Connor Strong and Buckaloo. Huge round of applause. There's some other sponsors we will recognize, but I want to mention one more thing. DJ Rob Barone here comes every year and just re-racks the same playlist every year and adds new stuff, but Rob donates his time. He's a great DJ, your bar mitzvah, sweet 16, whatever party, what else do you do? Yeah, okay, good. Hire Rob, he's awesome. So, thank you so much. Enough from me. I'd like to present, it's a kind of weird way to say, John. I'd like to have John come up and say a few words. He's the real reason we're here, and I hope you all give me a huge round of applause for John.
Okay, so Jason thanked all the sponsors. I want to thank all the individuals for being here, the companies that had people come to this event to make it what it is over the years, the people that bought tickets, the committee, Jason for whatever reason wanting to do this 15 years ago when we were in our 20s and we didn't have children. I got a text this morning that said, "Did you start your speech?" That's the 13th time I've got that text. My response was, "What speech?" I don't write these speeches. I wrote 5 speeches for the night. I read them all. I'm not saying any one of them. We're here to prevent somebody else from going through what I've been through. And just put your hands up if this is your first year. All right, so let's start at the beginning real quick. May 2nd, 1983, Sandy and Ed Holland had Eileen Holland. My cousin, a month older than me to the day. She was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. My mom, being the nerd that she is, for that 9th month, did all the research she could on cystic fibrosis. I decided to make my entrance into the world the only way I knew how. Left foot first, right foot tucked under, sliding into third base. She knew as soon as she kissed me, something wasn't right. She was told by medical professionals, she's a young mom, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Take your kid home, he'll be fine. I wasn't fine for 10 weeks. Finally, they did what they call a sweat test, which I'm pretty sure is they just put me in a box and turn the heat up and then test the sweat. I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And we've been on a roller coaster ride ever since. So let's go through the major events of CF. The first time I knew I had a disease, I was in 6th or 7th grade. And as a lot of you know, you start to gain interest in another person. So I wrote a note, "Will you be my girlfriend?" And with 2 boxes, yes or no. Handed it to them and walked away. And then I heard this. Why would you want to be his girlfriend? He has a disease. Now, my first thought was, what disease do I have? I wasn't raised to have a disease. I had some stuff to do in the morning and stuff to do at night, and we go live life. In that same year, I was hospitalized for the first time for what we call a tune-up, which is basically the bacteria in my lungs flares up, go in for IVs, kill the bacteria, get it under control, go home. So that's what I did. It was the fall of that year, and I was on a soccer team, and my father said, "You made a commitment to the team. You need to go be there to support your teammates." I said, "Okay, no problem. Am I allowed to play?" He said, "No, you're not, but you're going." I was pissed. To sit on the sideline at 10 or 11 years old, when all you want to do is go out, the world doesn't stop spinning, I learned. Junior year of high school, I was hospitalized again. For the same thing, a bacteria flare up, 2-3 weeks of IVs, and on we went with life. Freshman year of college, after the fall semester, I woke up at home on break at that point, the worst pain I've ever been in my stomach. I had a stomach blockage. The freshman 15, I didn't take enough enzymes as I ate college food, and my intestines got blocked up. I won't go into detail about how they freed my intestines, but you can use your imagination. That was it for the first 21 years of my life. 3 hospitalizations. Very rare for people with CF. There are people with CF that are in multiple times a year. From 21 to 26, I was in and out of the hospital. I was, how can I word this without throwing people under a bus? I was misdiagnosed multiple times. They thought it was CF flare-ups. It wasn't. It was a microbacterium, which I'm not a science person. To me, it just sounds like a more aggressive bacteria, which required, and Ben, shake your head, 12 to 16 months of IVs. Sure, okay, great, let's go with that one. Tim? Good. Ladies and gentlemen, my nurse, Tim, which I'll get to in a second, put your hand up. Please give him a round of applause and all the staff. I finished those IVs in 9 months. I shouldn't have. I ended up graduating college in 2009. I started in 2001. I had to take some semesters off because of misdiagnosis and had to withdraw because of all the hospitalizations. But I graduated college. In 1983, when we were born, I wasn't supposed to be a teenager. And if anyone has met or knows my mom, that's unacceptable. So that wasn't an issue. After I graduated, or I guess when I was student teaching in the spring of '09, I got the flu. I had to take a week off of student teaching. My professors told me, you may have to withdraw. I told my professor they will wheel me across the stage on a hospital bed, and they will take me away in an ambulance before I withdraw. I'm graduating college. And she looked at me like I was nuts. She was right, but I did it anyway. Then the spring of 2010, I got the flu again. And that was what I'm gonna call the beginning of the end. It was up and down for there until 2016. In 2011, I was put on a feeding tube, which was the worst to date. 9 months of my life. I finally told my doctors enough. I can't do this. My nurse practitioner and I got in a very nice argument, and she said, you can't fight at your weight. I don't remember what the weight was. I looked her dead in the eye and I loved her to death, and we had a brother-sister relationship where we just told the truth. I said, bring a scale in here, and whatever that number says, that is my fighting weight. And she said, okay. Didn't argue with it. So I got medical permission to have my brother pull the feeding tube. At which point he did. Weird experience. And then he decided he needed to go to the Phillies game that night. Now, did he ask permission? Of course, but that's not as good of a story as if he just left me there with a hole in my stomach. In 2016, Mom and Dina were away on business. I was having trouble breathing. I was doing nebs, a nebulizer, inhaled. I don't even remember what it was at this point. Albuterol, probably. Every 3 hours, supposed to be every 4. I text Ben at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Dad was sleeping. Dad had to go to work the next morning. I didn't want to bother him, so I bothered my brother at 12 o'clock at night. Living in Philly. We were in Havertown. Made sense in my head. He got an Uber and came home. That morning we called my nurse, my at-home nurse. She told my dad to go to CVS to buy a pulse ox to see what my pulse ox was. Dad came home, put it on, it was 84. She said, don't let him walk. Wheel him out to the car in a kitchen chair, put him in the car, and go to the ER. We got to the ER. She had called ahead to the doctors called down to the ER staff. They met me at the car with an oxygen tank. When I tell you how good that first breath of oxygen felt, that I kind of all of a sudden felt safe in a way. Eventually, I was hospitalized. We did IVs, came home, but oxygen came home with me. It's the first time I'd ever been on it, and it came home with me. On the ride home, I knew my life was very different. Fast forward to 2019. From 16 to 19, it was a downhill ride with a mudslide, an avalanche, whatever you want to say. And I did everything I could to climb back up, and my feet kept being taken out from under me. June of 2019, I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. I was released for 10 days. I was rushed back to the ER. Damn, I've never done this out loud. Shit. I walked out of my house, and my dog was standing at the top of the steps. And I said, I'll see you later. And I closed the door, and I whispered to myself, I hope so. Because I knew this was different. We're halfway down to Hup, and Mom's driving, and I said to her, make me a promise. She said, anything. I said, you don't go home until I go home. She said, I got you. Nope, we're not doing this. Okay. I was hospitalized, I guess it was somewhere around the 24th, let's call it. I got an email from my doctor, my CF doctor. We were doing everything we could to wait for this medication called Trikafta. I don't know if you've heard of it. It changed, it put CF, it flipped it on its head. And I was doing everything I could to get this medicine because I just had a feeling it was going to be what it is. And I have really good relationships with my medical team. We don't beat around bushes, we're straight shooters. The email basically said, I know you've done everything you could. You will not make it. You will die before Trikafta is released. It's the first time someone has said it to me. I knew how sick I was, but when a medical professional tells you, you pay attention. So I said, okay. Somehow I was processing all this, and this goes back to Tim, who was my nurse many times during that hospitalization. I don't even know if you were working when we had all those discussions, or if it was after your shift. I don't remember clearly. We spoke basically for his 12 hours that he was there. He would leave his room to go see other patients, he would come back to me. And in the end, it was, okay, I reached this point, I did all I could. Time to sign the papers to be transplanted. I don't know if you think doctors are athletic. When I signed that paper, my doctor grabbed it and hauled ass out of there to register it. I was number 2 in the entire country for lung transplants. There was only one person sicker than me in the United States that needed a lung transplant. Damn. July 1st, they took me down to the ICU. We're good?
Low power.
And they put me on an ECMO to oxygenate my blood. I didn't know it at the time. My Aunt Sandy told me later. They only come off of ECMO for 2 reasons. For a transplant or in a body bag. Okay, maybe she worded it nicely. I'm not so polished. July 7th, 2019, at 10 a.m., the nurse comes in and says to my brother, "You got a phone call." He goes out and takes the call. He comes back in the room, and I don't know what my ICU room was. There was apparently a window behind me to the family waiting room. He knocks on it. And again, if you know my mom, she lost her shit thinking something was wrong. She goes out, and because she was responsible for me medically, she had to accept the lungs. They knew by 11 a.m., someone between the two of you? 2 p.m.? Okay, 2 p.m. They weren't allowed to say a word to me until 11 p.m. They lied to me for most of the day. And why I say that is because I said to Ben 1,000 times, is my phone off silent? Is the ringer on? Check to make sure nobody called. At some point, Mom came in the room, sat on the bed, and we have spent too many hours in the hospital together so I can read my mother like a book. And I said, "Don't you dare give up on me. I have a feeling." I have no idea what the feeling was, but I have a feeling. How she kept that secret after I said that, I don't know. Good for you, I'll never trust you again. So the doctor comes in, they can finally tell me, 11 o'clock, 11:30, and says, "We got new lungs, do you want them?" If I remember the story right, or maybe they just filled me in, I said, "Is this a joke?" Because sometimes there's false alarms. They couldn't tell me until my doctors went to retrieve the lungs to bring them back to Hub. They said, "It's not a joke, do you want them?" I turned to my mom, my dad, and my brother. I don't remember what I said, but they were crying, and I was like, "Oh, this is real." So I said, "When is it happening?" And the doctor looked down the hallways. The anesthesiologists were coming in right now. So I didn't have time to process it. This is a therapy session right now, going through it, because I don't remember 2019, the speech I gave. Somewhere in this world is a family that is grieving the loss of a child, so my family can celebrate the life of theirs. It is not something I will ever be comfortable with, but it's the reality of the disease. When you get a lung transplant, it doesn't cure CF. You trade one disease for another. The medications I'm on, was on right after, were a step below chemotherapy, which led to kidney failure a couple times. And then in August of 21, the kidneys failed. Dialysis started. I was in the ICU for 10 days, 2 weeks maybe. I don't remember. I went down from the room to the ICU at about 175 pounds of fluids. I came back to the floor 145 pounds. Dialysis took 30 some pounds off of me in 10 days. My nurses walked by the room and stopped and looked at me to make sure I was the same person. They started crying because when I was rushed to the ICU, I was dying. Let's just call it what it was. I couldn't breathe. I was drowning from the inside. Dialysis is not an enjoyable experience. So when it became obvious that my kidneys were not going to recover, I put a post on Facebook asking, would anyone be willing to just get tested? I wasn't asking you to donate, I was just saying, would you be tested? I didn't even have to ask, he already had done it. He already had started the paperwork. I don't know if it's an older brother, little brother thing, I don't comprehend what he did or why. All I know is when he went into surgery and they wheeled me into surgery an hour later, I said, before you start the surgery, just tell me he's okay. And the anesthesiologist wrote, he's fine, they're closing him up. Because my ears were out, I wasn't gonna hear what they said. And I said, okay. I've been through a lung transplant. A kidney transplant, they say, is nothing comparatively. Well, it's an organ transplant. So it's still a major surgery. I didn't care. He was okay. I'm used to this life. I don't know why I was given this life. I'm built for it. Someone asked me how I don't have PTSD, how I go to sleep. Because I'm nuts. Let's just call it what it is. I don't think about the highs and lows. I realize it's a disease. There's going to be lows. I concentrate on the highs. This is actually the first speech I've ever given that I've gone through the CF part of it. Most of my other speeches are about life. CF is part of that life. CF has been a major part of that life for the last 40 years, 7 or 8 years. No matter what happens to me, I knew that when Jason wanted to do this event, or when he came up with the idea and we talked through it, I said, all right, we can really make an impact. I don't know what the impact's going to be. This was a small family fundraiser that has grown beyond our wildest dreams. So I'm going to tell you how this event, along with the CF Foundation and other fundraisers, has impacted people with CF. In 2018, the life expectancy was 26 years old. I started to get sick at 26 years old. I stand here tonight, the life expectancy is 66.
Whoa.
To put that in terms you'll understand, all of you are only supposed to live to 77 and a half. So you're not beating me by that much. I got to take my phone out for this because there's a stat. And because my brother's a nerd and I have his kidney, I need a stat. Sorry, Ben, love you. In 2008, when we started this, CF had 184 transplants that year. In 2019, there were 256. I was one of those. In 2022, there were 43. Yeah, 43 lung transplants for CF patients because of one medication. Just one. And there's a lot of really smart people using the money we raised tonight to come up with other medicines. So the number keeps going down and down. And if that's what we leave, and if that's my mark on the world, everything I go through, so somebody else doesn't have to, including a little 10-year-old whose mom isn't here tonight, I will go to sleep the final time with a big smile on my face. Because I stand... I'm able to stand here because of those who weren't as fortunate as me. No matter what you do in life, you stand on the shoulders of people that came before you. Unfortunately, CF, up till 2019, took a lot of young lives. And there are times in my life where I don't know why I'm alive, and a child was taken. Doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't seem fair. But I also heard one time that a fair is a place they judge pigs. So take it for what it's worth. But that's what we're doing. That's the money you're raising. in 15 years. 15? Yeah. The life expectancy went up 40 years. That's astronomical for science. Science things don't happen quickly. I'm thankful to someone who I will never meet. I am thankful to their family for checking that little box. I am thankful to my brother for just damn, I thought I was going to cry at the Remy part, not you. For being my rock, for being the one to hold me up when I'm sliding, for just being a person I can call at 12 in the morning, whether he's asleep or not. I know his phone's on silent, but not my ring. To my family for letting me be me, for never saying, you're sick, you can't do this, except for two things, Ellen Beth, and you're lucky Dr. Scanlon's not here. Because CF stopped two things in my life. One, being a catcher for baseball. Mom thought the dust was a bad idea. I was young, I went with it. Number two, she says that doctors told her I shouldn't have a dog. Now, my childhood doctor, actually Eileen's childhood doctor as well, had purchased tickets, but he didn't show up. I have a feeling she's not lying, so I'm kind of glad I can't verify that. CF is a disease. CF is still a killer. CF takes too many lives, but the number's going down. And for that, on this night, standing here before you for the first time, probably since 2009, where I drove myself, I walked around, I shook hands, gave hugs, I say thank you.
Oh, nobody freaking wants to hear from me. So, first of all, John,
Sir.
we love you.
I love you.
You are such an inspiration. So here is the deal for the what did you just do? Here's the deal for the rest of the evening. We are going to give everybody like 2 or 3 minutes. If you have not gotten your stuff in for the raffles, because we are calling out raffle prizes, I will give you 4.